The rain had stopped when Ethan Blake pushed through the door of Morrison's coffee house. At 27, the documentary photographer had perfected the art of capturing unguarded moments, but nothing prepared him for her. She sat by the window, dark curls falling over a paint-stained denim jacket, sketching with absolute focus. Sophia Chen didn't notice him approaching until he spoke. "Is this seat taken?" Amber-green eyes looked up, and Ethan felt something shift inside him. "It's all yours," she said, smiling. "Though I'm terrible company when I'm working." "What kind of work?" he asked, settling into the chair. She showed him her notebook, a sketch of the cafe that captured not just the space but its soul. "I'm an illustrator. Sophia Chen. I watch people. Everyone has a story written on their face." "Ethan Blake. Photographer. I know exactly what you mean." 4 hours dissolved in conversation about art and observation, about seeing versus truly looking. Sophia told him about moving to New York 3 months ago to pursue children's book illustration. Ethan shared stories from his travels, Marrakesh, Kyoto, Iceland. "Don't you ever want to just stop?" Sophia asked. "Find a place that feels like home?" "Lately," Ethan admitted, "I've been wondering if I've been running from something rather than toward it." When they left, the city sparkled in the aftermath of the storm. "Can I see you again?" Ethan asked. "Tomorrow. Same place, same time." Walking home, Ethan felt certain his life had just changed direction. He didn't call his twin brother Adrian to tell him. That conversation would come later, and it would change everything. Adrian Blake lived 2.3 miles from his brother but in a different universe. While Ethan chased light across continents, Adrian built structures that touched the sky. As a structural engineer, he found beauty in mathematics and elegant solutions. They were identical in appearance, same dark hair, gray-blue eyes, the scar above the left eyebrow. But where Ethan was spontaneous, Adrian was methodical. Ethan felt, Adrian thought. 3 days after Ethan met Sophia, the brothers met for their weekly breakfast. "You look different," Adrian observed. "What happened?" "I met someone," Ethan grinned. "Sophia. She's incredible. We've been together every day since Thursday." Adrian felt an unexpected pang. "That's great. When do I get to meet her?" "Soon," Ethan promised. 2 weeks later, Adrian was walking through Washington Square Park when he saw a woman sketching on a bench. She dropped her eraser, and he picked it up. "Excuse me, you dropped this." She looked up, and Adrian felt the world tilt. Extraordinary eyes, warm smile, complete absorption in her work. "Thank you," she said. "I'm constantly losing things when I draw." He looked at her sketchbook, a fantastical version of the park where trees formed words and people became whimsical creatures. "It's beautiful," Adrian said. "The way you've transformed reality but kept its essence, it's like architecture." Her face lit up. "That's exactly what I'm trying to do." They talked for an hour. She told him about her illustration work, her artistic vision. Adrian shared his passion for sustainable design, his dream of creating structures that served communities. "You think about the future a lot," she observed. "Someone has to. My brother lives entirely in the present moment. He's a photographer, always chasing the perfect instant. I'd love to meet him sometime." "Actually, he's been busy lately with his new girlfriend," Adrian said. Something flickered across her face. "Adrian, what's your last name?" "Blake." "Why?" She closed her eyes. "Oh God. I'm the girlfriend. I'm Sophia Chen. I've been seeing Ethan for 2 weeks." The park froze around them. "I didn't know," Sophia said quickly. "He mentioned having a twin but never said your name." And we look exactly alike, Adrian finished, his mind reeling through their conversation, every moment of connection he'd felt. I should go, Sophia said, gathering her things with trembling hands. Ethan's a good man, Adrian said quietly. He really cares about you. I know. I care about him too. She left, and Adrian sat alone, understanding for the first time what it meant to meet the right person at exactly the wrong time. Sophia didn't tell Ethan about meeting Adrian. Not that night, nor the next day. She told herself it was meaningless, an awkward coincidence. But she couldn't stop thinking about that hour in the park. Ethan was wonderful. He showed her hidden corners of New York, made her feel fully alive in each moment. Being with Ethan felt like adventure. But Adrian had been different. Where Ethan showed her the world, Adrian had asked her to explain hers. He'd listened with complete attention, engaged with her ideas as if they mattered. With Ethan, she felt seen. With Adrian, she'd felt understood. And that terrified her. "You're quiet tonight," Ethan said at his apartment. "Just thinking about a deadline," she lied. "Ethan, can I ask you something? Tell me about your brother." Ethan tensed slightly. "Adrian? Why? You never talk about him much." "He's brilliant, probably the smartest person I know. But he lives in his head. Everything has to make logical sense. I feel my way through life, Adrian thinks his way through. We're two halves of one complete person. Do you think he ever wishes he were more like you?" "Probably not. Why all the questions?" "I just want to know you better." "Well, you're about to," Ethan said. "My parents are visiting next weekend. And Adrian will be there too." Sophia's heart sank. "Next weekend? I may have told Mom I met someone special." "I'd love to meet them," Sophia said, the lie bitter on her tongue. That week, her phone rang. An unknown number. "Sophia? It's Adrian. I thought we should talk before tomorrow." "There's nothing to talk about," she said quickly. "Sophia, I felt it too. We had a connection. We can't have this conversation. It's not fair to Ethan." "You're right. That's why I'm calling. Tomorrow will be difficult. We need to agree how to handle it, pretend we've never met, or tell Ethan the truth." "What do you think we should do?" "Tell him," Adrian said firmly. "If you and Ethan are going to build something real, it can't be built on secrets. Even if the secret doesn't matter." "Does it not matter?" Adrian asked quietly. "Be honest with yourself." Tears pricked her eyes. "I don't want to hurt him. I know. He's my brother, my twin. Which is why this is so complicated." "Then what do we do?" "We tell the truth. And we let Ethan decide how to handle it." After they hung up, Sophia stared at her drawing of a girl standing between two doors. Tomorrow, she would have to choose which door was real and which was just a beautiful dream. The Blake family dinner should have felt welcoming. Margaret and David Blake were warm, genuine people. Instead, Sophia felt like she was walking into a trap of her own making. When Adrian arrived, their formal introduction felt surreal, strangers performing a meeting they'd already lived through. Dinner was torture disguised as pleasantry. Margaret asked how they'd met. Ethan told the coffee shop story romantically, saying, "I knew immediately." Sophia felt Adrian's presence like a magnetic field, constantly aware of where he was, whether he was looking at her. After dinner, Ethan was called away to help his father. Margaret went to prepare coffee. Sophia and Adrian were left alone. "We should tell him soon," Adrian said quietly. "I keep hoping there's a version of this that doesn't hurt him." "There isn't." "What are you two conspiring about?" Ethan appeared in the doorway, cheerful and unsuspecting. "Ethan," Sophia said, her voice steadier than she felt. Can we talk? You, me, and Adrian? Privately. His smile faded. That sounds serious. They moved to the study. Sophia looked at Adrian, who gave a small nod. I met Adrian before tonight, Sophia said. Last week, in Washington Square Park. We talked for about an hour, then realized the connection. Nothing happened, but I should have told you immediately. The silence felt endless. Is this true? Ethan asked Adrian. Yes. She dropped an eraser. We started talking. Neither of us knew until the pieces fell into place. And then what? She left, Adrian said. We both understood the situation was impossible. Ethan turned to Sophia. Why didn't you tell me? Because I was confused and scared. I didn't want to hurt you over something that didn't mean anything. But it did mean something. Or you wouldn't have hidden it. His voice cracked. I've been falling for you, and you were wondering about him. I wasn't anything, Sophia protested. Then why do you look guilty? Ethan gestured at Adrian. Why does he? Because we're human, Adrian said quietly. Because sometimes we feel things we don't want to feel. I talked to a woman in a park, found her interesting, then learned she was dating my brother and walked away. There's no betrayal in that. You think I wanted this? Adrian's composure cracked. We're twins. We've shared everything. But we're not the same person. And sometimes we don't want the same things. But it makes one of us the winner and one of us the loser, Ethan shot back. Only if we treat this like a competition. Sophia isn't a prize. She's a person who gets to make her own choice. And what choice is that? Ethan turned to Sophia. What do you want? The question she'd been dreading. I want not to be having this conversation, Sophia said, tears streaming. But I can't change what happened. Do you have feelings for Adrian? Looking at Ethan's pain, she couldn't lie anymore. I don't know, she whispered. I care about you. But I met Adrian and felt something I can't explain. I'm so sorry, but you asked for the truth. Ethan flinched. All our lives, I've been the spontaneous one. You've been the careful one. But I met her first, Adrian. I know. And it's still not enough. Ethan, please, Sophia began. Go, Sophia, his voice broke. Just go. 3 days of silence followed. Sophia buried herself in work, completing illustrations in a feverish burst. Her editor was thrilled. Sophia felt hollow. On the 4th day, Ethan arrived at her door. He looked tired but calmer. Can I come in? He examined her illustrations, darker, more complex than before. These are incredible. Thank you. Ethan, Let me go first, he interrupted gently. I've been thinking. If our positions were reversed, if you'd met Adrian first at that coffee shop, then accidentally met me in the park, would you be having the same crisis? Sophia had no answer. I think you would, Ethan continued. Because the problem isn't who you met first. The problem is that Adrian and I represent different things. With me, you get spontaneity and adventure. With Adrian, you get depth and intellectual connection. Those aren't the same kind of love. What are you saying? I'm saying you need to figure out which version of love you actually want. What kind of life you want to build. He showed her a photograph, Sophia in the coffee shop, sketching, unaware of the camera. I took this that first day. I carry it because it reminds me of when I knew you were special. But looking at it now, I realize, you were complete in yourself. You didn't need me to make you whole. How can I believe anything about that time? Sophia asked. You can't, Ethan admitted. That's the worst part. We took away your ability to trust your own memories. And I will regret that forever. Did Adrian ask you to say this? God, no. Adrian's locked himself in his apartment, convinced he's ruined my life. Ethan paused. I'm not saying choose him. I'm saying choose honestly. If you want to be with me, knowing what you know now, I'm here. But if you want to explore what you felt with Adrian, I'm not going to stand in the way. After Ethan left, Sophia sat alone for a long time. She thought about 2 weeks of adventures with Ethan, and 1 hour of depth with Adrian. Were those two forms of connection incompatible? She picked up her phone. We need to talk. Tomorrow. Washington Square Park. The bench where we met. Adrian's response came immediately, I'll be there. Adrian arrived first with 2 coffees, one black, one with cream and sugar. He'd remembered from their first conversation. Hi, Sophia said, sitting at the other end of the bench. Hi. You remembered. I remember everything. They watched the park move around them, joggers, chess players, the rhythm of New York. Ethan came to see me, Sophia said. He was incredibly gracious. He's a good person. Better than me in a lot of ways. That's not true. It is, Adrian insisted. Ethan forgives easily. I hold grudges. He lives in the moment while I'm always calculating outcomes. Right now, part of me hopes you chose him so I don't have to feel guilty, and part of me hopes you chose me, even though that means hurting my brother. Either way, I'm selfish. What if there isn't a right choice? Then we choose the option that hurts the fewest people. That's basic ethical calculus. And which option is that? Logically, you should choose Ethan. You have history, an established relationship. My feelings are based on one conversation, they're not rational. By any logical measure, you and Ethan make more sense. But? Sophia prompted. But logic isn't everything, Adrian admitted. When I'm designing a building, I can calculate requirements and stress points. But I can't calculate whether people will feel something when they walk through the space. There are things that exist outside of logical systems. And what do you feel? Adrian faced her fully. I feel like I met someone who understands how I think. I feel like I could spend years talking to you. I feel like when you create art and I design structures, we're doing the same thing, finding the hidden architecture beneath reality. And I feel guilty as hell for feeling any of that. Sophia's eyes shimmered. I felt it too. So what do we do? I don't know. What if I'm 25 and still figuring out who I am? What if I'm not ready for any serious relationship? Then maybe, Adrian paused, maybe the question isn't about choosing between Ethan and me. Maybe it's about whether you're ready for any of this. Are you telling me to reject both of you? I'm telling you that maybe the real choice is choosing yourself. Sophia stared at him, then laughed, a sound between amusement and despair. You know what's ironic? Ethan, the spontaneous one, told me to think logically. And you, the logical one, are telling me to follow my heart. Maybe that's what happens when twins fall for the same person. We become more like each other trying to compete. I don't want you to compete, Sophia said firmly. I don't want to be the thing that comes between you. You're twins, you've shared a bond your whole lives. But we can't ignore what we feel. No, Sophia agreed. But maybe we can acknowledge it exists without acting on it. Maybe we can say, yes, there's something here, but the timing is wrong, the circumstances are impossible, and forcing it would cause more damage than it's worth. Adrian felt something crack in his chest. Are you saying goodbye? I'm saying I need to step back from both of you. I came to New York to build a career, to figure out who I am. Instead, I fell into a relationship before I'd found my footing, then complicated that by meeting you. I've been so focused on choosing between you that I forgot to choose myself. She stood. I care about Ethan. And I feel something for you I can't explain. But neither feeling is more important than figuring out who I am when I'm not defined by which Blake brother I'm with. Will you help me explain this to Ethan? Sophia asked. I feel like I owe you both a real conversation. Of course. Later, at Adrian's apartment, both twins sat processing. She's amazing, Ethan said finally. You know that, right? I know. I really thought she might be the one. She still could be. Just not now. They sat in silence, two identical men with different interior worlds, united by blood and now by the complicated shape of the same woman walking away from both of them. I'm sorry, Adrian said. For meeting her. For feeling what I felt. Don't be. You didn't choose any of this. Neither did she. Adrian bumped his shoulder against his brother's, a gesture of solidarity from childhood. We'll be okay. Will we? We're brothers. Twins. We'll survive this too. But neither could shake the feeling that they were standing at a precipice. And Sophia had chosen to turn back, at least for now. The question was, what would happen when she was ready to jump? Winter melted into spring. Sophia threw herself into work with new intensity. Her children's book was completed ahead of schedule, winning immediate acclaim. The publisher commissioned a sequel. Her illustrations had evolved, the magical world she created now questioned reality itself. Luna, her main character, could see hidden truths. Briefcases held dreams instead of documents, subway cars were dragons, park benches were portals to other times. These are profound, her editor said. You're not just writing for children anymore. You're writing philosophy disguised as fantasy. Sophia had spent 6 months thinking about truth, about choice, about the spaces between what we want and what we need. Those thoughts bled onto every page. She hadn't seen Ethan or Adrian. They'd all agreed to distance. But she thought about them constantly, Ethan's enthusiasm, Adrian's depth, the different versions of herself she'd been with each. Her phone buzzed. Sophia. This is Margaret Blake. I hope it's okay that I'm reaching out. I'd love to see you if you have time. I miss our conversations. 3 days later, Sophia sat across from Margaret in a midtown cafe. Thank you for meeting me, Margaret said. How are they? Sophia asked. Working too hard, talking too little, pretending everything's fine. They're being polite, careful around each other. It worries me. I never wanted that. I know. Can I tell you something about twins? Margaret showed Sophia a childhood photo, 2 8-year-olds, identical in appearance but wearing completely different expressions. That's Ethan laughing, Adrian thinking. Even at 8, you could see the differences. We raised them to be individuals, not a matched set. Why are you telling me this? Because I think you're making a mistake. Not stepping back, that was wise. But the mistake of thinking that what you felt for one takes away from what you felt for the other. Both feelings were real. The tragedy isn't that you felt something for both of my sons. The tragedy is the timing. But that doesn't solve the problem, Sophia protested. I can't be with both of them. No. But you can stop punishing yourself for feeling something genuine for both. You can acknowledge that if circumstances were different, either relationship might have been beautiful. I've spent 6 months trying not to think about them. Do you regret walking away? Sometimes. Other times I think it was the only honest thing to do. But the heart doesn't wait for perfect timing, Margaret said softly. Sometimes we meet the right people at the wrong time, and we have to decide whether to force the timing or let the people go. Do you think they still think about me? Margaret's smile was sad. Ethan hasn't traveled anywhere in 6 months, longest he's stayed in one place since high school. And Adrian takes long walks every evening, always ending up at Washington Square Park. On a specific bench. So yes. What should I do? Maybe there is no right answer. Maybe there's just the honest answer. Have you been honest with yourself about what you really want? Walking through Manhattan afterward, Sophia realized Margaret was right. She had made a choice by walking away. She'd chosen the safety of possibility over the risk of reality. And she wasn't sure that had been right. Her phone rang. David Blake. Sophia. I'm sorry to call, but there's been an accident. Adrian's in the hospital. He's asking for you. Sophia's hands shook as she gripped her phone. What happened? Construction site accident, David said. He's stable, but he has a concussion and broken ribs. He keeps asking for you and Ethan. I'm on my way. The hospital smelled of antiseptic and fear. David met her in the waiting room, looking older than she remembered. Thank you for coming. Ethan's with him now. How bad is it? He'll recover. But Sophia, he was distracted. The foreman said Adrian wasn't paying attention, walked right into a swinging beam. That's not like him. Adrian calculates everything. Guilt twisted in her chest. Can I see him? Ethan emerged from Adrian's room, stopping short when he saw her. 6 months had changed him, he looked steadier somehow, more grounded. Sophia. Your dad called. How is he? Concussed, bruised, but he'll be fine. Ethan's voice was carefully neutral. He's been asking for you. Ethan, Go see him. We can talk later. Adrian lay against white pillows, one side of his face bruised purple. His eyes were closed. Adrian. His eyes opened, focusing slowly. Sophia. You're really here. I thought I was hallucinating. She took the chair beside his bed. Your dad said you asked for me. Did I? The last few hours are fuzzy. He tried to smile, winced. Turns out I'm not as indestructible as I thought. What happened? I was reviewing structural plans at the site. Something distracted me, I don't remember what. Next thing I knew, I was here. He looked at her intently. How are you? Your book came out. I bought 3 copies. You did? One to keep, one for my office, one for Mom. It's beautiful, Sophia. The way you illustrated hidden truths, it's exactly what you described that day in the park. Tears pricked her eyes. You remember that conversation? Every word. I think about it constantly. About you. He caught himself. I'm sorry. Concussion's making me honest. Don't apologize. 6 months, Adrian said softly. I kept telling myself it would get easier. That the feelings were based on one conversation, that they'd fade. But they didn't. Every time I design something, I think about how you'd illustrate it. Every time I'm in Washington Square, I look for you. I know that's not fair. Adrian. Let me finish. Please. I might not have the courage when I'm not concussed. He took a shaky breath. I spent 6 months trying to be logical about this. Trying to calculate the ethical choice. But here's what I finally understood, some things can't be reduced to equations. What I feel for you isn't logical. It's not rational. But it's real. Sophia felt her carefully constructed distance crumbling. I feel it too. But what about Ethan? Ethan and I talked. After you left. Really talked, for the first time in years. What did he say? That he loved you, but he also loves me. That he couldn't hate me for feeling what he felt. And that eventually, we'd all have to decide whether to let fear of hurting each other keep us from being happy. That sounds like Ethan. He's better than me in a lot of ways, Adrian said. But Sophia, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest. Okay. If Ethan and I weren't twins, if we were just two separate people you'd met at different times, what would you do? The question she'd been avoiding for 6 months. I don't know, she whispered. You're both extraordinary. But you're right, you're different. Ethan makes me feel alive. You make me feel understood. And both matter. Yes. But I can't have both. No, Adrian agreed. But you can choose honestly instead of running away from the choice. What if I choose wrong? What if there is no wrong? What if there's just the choice you make, and then you live with it? Before Sophia could respond, Ethan appeared in the doorway. Sorry to interrupt. Nurse says you need rest, Adrian. I'm fine. You have a concussion. Lie down before I call Mom. Ethan's tone was light, but firm. After Adrian reluctantly settled back, Ethan gestured to Sophia. Can we talk? Outside? In the hallway, they stood awkwardly, two people who'd once fit together easily, now unsure of how to occupy the same space. Thank you for coming, Ethan said. It means a lot to him. To both of us. Of course I came. Sophia, I heard some of what he said. The walls are thin. Her heart sank. Ethan. It's okay. Actually, it's good. We need to have this conversation. They found a quiet corner near a window overlooking the city. Night was falling, lights beginning to glow. I've had 6 months to think, Ethan began. About you, about Adrian, about what happened. And I've realized something, I was angry at the wrong thing. What do you mean? I was angry that you felt something for Adrian. But the real problem was that I was so caught up in my feelings that I didn't ask what you needed. I saw you, wanted you, and just assumed that was enough. I never asked if you were ready for what I was offering. You were wonderful to me. I was wonderful at you, Ethan corrected gently. I showed you my world, shared my passion, but I didn't ask about yours. Adrian did. In 1 hour, he asked you more questions about your work, your vision, your goals than I did in 2 weeks. That doesn't mean. It means something, Ethan interrupted. It means you and I had chemistry and adventure, but we didn't have foundation. We were building a house on sand, and the first wave knocked it down. Sophia felt tears streaming. I did care about you. I do. I know. And I care about you. But Sophia, I don't think what we had was love. Not yet. It could have become love, maybe. But we never got the chance to find out, because Adrian appeared and revealed that we hadn't built something strong enough to survive a challenge. So what are you saying? I'm saying I'm not standing in your way anymore. If you want to explore what you feel for Adrian, do it. Don't let guilt about me stop you. How can you say that? He's your twin brother. Exactly. He's my brother. My twin. We've shared everything our whole lives. But we're not the same person, and we don't want the same things. Or maybe we do want the same things, but we want them in different ways. Ethan took her hands. I want someone who wants to chase sunsets and jump on planes and live spontaneously. Adrian wants someone who wants to build something lasting, who thinks deeply, who engages intellectually. Those aren't the same kind of partnership. And which one do I want? Only you can answer that. But Sophia, you have to answer it. You can't keep running from the choice. What if I hurt you? What if I hurt him? You will, Ethan said simply. That's the cost of being human and caring about people. But the alternative is hurting yourself by never choosing at all. They stood in silence, the hospital moving around them, doctors on rounds, visitors coming and going, the machinery of healing. I saw your book, Ethan said finally. The illustrations about hidden truths. Was that about us? About everything. About trying to see what's really there instead of what I want to see. And what do you really see? Sophia looked at him, this man who'd shown her magic but not depth, adventure but not understanding. She cared about him. But Margaret had been right, there are different kinds of love. I see someone who taught me to be brave, she said carefully. Who showed me how to live in the moment. But Ethan, I think you were right, what we had was the beginning of something, not the something itself. He nodded slowly. And Adrian? I don't know yet. But I think I need to find out. Then find out. Really find out, not just one conversation in a park. Give it a real chance. You're being too gracious. I'm being honest. I thought I loved you, Sophia. But I think I loved the idea of you, this beautiful, talented woman who saw the world the way I do. I didn't love the real you, because I never took the time to discover who that was. And Adrian did? Adrian asked questions. That's his gift, he wants to understand how things work, including people. My gift is seeing beauty. We're different tools for different jobs. Sophia laughed through tears. You're talking about yourselves like you're wrenches. We're twins. We've had a lifetime of being compared, contrasted, confused for each other. You learn to define yourself by your differences. They hugged, a real hug, warm and genuine and sad. Be good to him, Ethan said. He thinks too much and feels too little. You make him feel. What about you? I'll be fine. Actually, I'm leaving next week. Photography assignment in Peru. 3 months documenting remote villages. It's exactly what I need. Running away? No, Ethan smiled. Running toward. There's a difference. Adrian was released 2 days later. Sophia visited him at his apartment, a space she'd never seen before. It was exactly as she'd imagined, clean lines, floor-to-ceiling windows, bookshelves organized by subject and color. Tea, he offered. I'd offer coffee, but the doctor has me on limited caffeine. Tea is perfect. They sat on his balcony overlooking the city. Spring had arrived fully, trees budding, air warming, the world renewing itself. Ethan told me you two talked, Adrian said. He gave us his blessing. Which somehow makes this harder. I know. It would be easier if he was angry. Then we could feel justified. But he's just, gracious. Understanding. It's infuriating. Adrian laughed, then winced, hand going to his ribs. Don't make me laugh. It hurts. Sorry. They sat in comfortable silence, something Sophia had missed, the ability to not speak and not feel pressured to fill the space. Sophia, Adrian said finally. We need to talk about what happens next. I know. We can't build a relationship on guilt and complicated feelings about Ethan. If we're going to do this, we need to start fresh. As ourselves, not as the people who fell for each other despite everything. How do we do that? We start over. We date properly. We take it slow. We figure out if what we felt in that first conversation is real or just a beautiful accident. And if it's not real, then we'll know. And we can all move forward. You make it sound simple. It's not simple. But it's honest. And I think we owe ourselves honesty. Sophia looked at him, this man who thought in structures and systems, who wanted to understand how things worked. So different from Ethan's spontaneous warmth. "Okay," she said. "Let's start over." Adrian smiled. "Hi. I'm Adrian Blake. I'm a structural engineer. I think about how to make buildings that serve communities. I take things too seriously, I overthink everything, and I'm terrible at small talk." "Hi. I'm Sophia Chen. I'm an illustrator. I try to show hidden truths through art. I avoid difficult conversations, I second-guess myself constantly, and I just spent 6 months running from my feelings." "Want to get dinner sometime?" Adrian asked. "I'd like that." They took it slowly. Dinners where they talked for hours. Museum visits where Adrian explained structural elements while Sophia sketched architectural fantasies. Walks through the city where they discovered they moved at the same pace, methodical, observant, prone to stopping to examine details. It wasn't like being with Ethan. There was less spontaneity, fewer grand gestures. But there was depth, conversations that built on previous conversations, an accumulation of understanding. Adrian learned that Sophia worked best in the early morning, that she needed silence to create, that she was more ambitious than she admitted. Sophia learned that Adrian volunteered teaching math to underserved students, that he was secretly sentimental, that he kept every sketch she'd given him in a folder labeled Sophia's Vision. But the shadow of Ethan lingered. Every time Adrian smiled a certain way, Sophia saw his twin. Every time she second-guessed herself, she wondered if she'd made the right choice. One evening, 6 weeks into their careful courtship, Adrian's phone rang. "Ethan, calling from Peru." "Should I answer?" Adrian asked. "Of course." Adrian put it on speaker. "Hey, brother. How's South America?" "Incredible. I'm documenting this village in the mountains. The light is unlike anything I've ever seen. How are you?" "Ribs healed." "Mostly. Still sore when I laugh too hard." "And, how are things?" The question was weighted. Adrian looked at Sophia, who nodded. "Good. Really good. Sophia and I have been seeing each other. Taking it slow." A pause. Then, "I'm glad." "Seriously. You sound happy." "I am. How are you?" "I'm good. I met someone, actually. Maria, she's a teacher in the village. We communicate mostly through gestures and my terrible Spanish, but there's something there." Relief flooded Sophia. Ethan was moving forward. "That's great," Adrian said warmly. "I'm happy for you." "Thanks. Look, I'm calling because I've been thinking. About us, about Sophia, about everything. And I realized something, we were all so focused on who I chose or who chose who that we forgot about the larger truth." "What truth?" "That love isn't a limited resource. That me caring about Sophia doesn't mean you can't. That maybe the real mistake was treating this like a competition instead of just life happening." Adrian's eyes met Sophia's. "I think you're right. I also think," Ethan continued, "that you and Sophia work better than she and I did. I was honest with her, we had chemistry, but we didn't have foundation. You too. You're building something real. I can hear it in your voice." "Thanks, Ethan. That means a lot. Just promise me one thing." "Anything. Don't waste time feeling guilty about this. Life's too short. You found someone who gets you. That's rare. Don't apologize for it." After they hung up, Sophia was crying. "What's wrong?" Adrian asked, concerned. "Nothing. Everything. I'm so relieved he's okay. That we didn't destroy him. Ethan's strong. Stronger than either of us gave him credit for." I know. But Adrian, I need to ask you something, and I need complete honesty. Always. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if the circumstances were different? If I'd met you first? Adrian considered this. Sometimes. But then I realize, I don't think we would have worked if you'd met me first. You needed Ethan to teach you to be spontaneous, to take risks. That opened you up to being ready for something deeper. The timing happened the way it needed to. That's very philosophical. I'm an engineer. I believe in load-bearing sequences. Some things have to happen in order. Sophia laughed. Are you comparing our relationship to building construction? Everything is building construction if you think about it right. They kissed, not their first kiss, but somehow more significant than the others. A kiss that acknowledged the complicated path that had brought them here. I love you, Sophia said, surprised by her own words. Adrian pulled back, studying her face. You don't have to say that. I know. But it's true. Not in spite of everything that happened, because of it. We chose each other with full knowledge of the cost. That makes it real. I love you too, Adrian said quietly. I have since that day in the park. But I'm glad we took the time to build this properly. Me too. That night, lying in Adrian's arms, Sophia thought about Margaret Blake's words, sometimes we meet the right people at the wrong time. But maybe the time had been exactly right. Maybe she'd needed to meet Ethan first to understand what she was looking for. Maybe Adrian had needed to see her with his brother to recognize what he wanted. Maybe all of it, the confusion, the guilt, the 6 months apart, had been necessary to build something lasting. In Peru, Ethan photographed a sunset and thought about Sophia without pain for the first time. He'd loved her, in his way. But Adrian loved her in a way that matched how she needed to be loved. And that was okay. In New York, Margaret Blake looked at a photo of her sons, one traveling, one finally settled, and smiled. They'd found their different paths, as she'd always known they would. And Sophia sketched a new illustration, 2 trees growing from the same root, branches reaching in different directions, both beautiful in their own way. Understanding, finally, that loving one didn't diminish the other. Sometimes the right choice isn't about choosing the right person. It's about choosing honestly. The gallery opening was Sophia's idea, a joint showing of her illustrations and Ethan's photography. Hidden structures and captured moments, they called it. Art that explored the space between seeing and understanding. Adrian helped with the logistics, naturally. He'd designed the gallery layout to create flow, to guide viewers through a conversation between 2 artistic visions. Ethan had returned from Peru 3 months earlier, browner and broader and somehow more settled. Maria hadn't worked out, too many obstacles, too much distance, but the experience had changed him. He'd stopped running from things and started running toward them. This is surreal, Ethan said, standing between a photograph he'd taken in Marrakesh and an illustration Sophia had created in response. The same street, but in her version, the marketplace sold memories instead of spices. Good surreal or bad surreal? Sophia asked. Good. Strange, but good. A year ago, I couldn't have done this, been in the same room with you two, celebrated your work together. But now I see what you were trying to tell me. That you and I were something, but you and Adrian are something else. Something that fits better. Adrian joined them, carrying champagne. Toast before the doors open. To complicated families, Ethan proposed. To honest choices, Sophia countered. To moving forward, Adrian finished. They drank, and for the first time since that awful dinner at the Blake house, all 3 of them were genuinely comfortable in the same space. Margaret and David arrived, Margaret immediately tearing up at the artwork. You 3, she said, hugging each of them. I'm so proud of how you've handled this. We handled it terribly, Ethan laughed. But we survived. That's all handling really is, David observed. Surviving your mistakes and learning from them. The gallery filled with people, art critics, friends, curious strangers. Sophia watched as viewers moved between Ethan's photographs and her illustrations, seeing the dialogue between the two. A woman stopped her. Are you the illustrator? Yes. These are remarkable. They feel like they're in conversation with the photographs, but also arguing with them. His work captures what is. Yours explores what could be. That's exactly right. Are you and the photographer collaborating? In a way. We see the world differently, but both visions are valid. The woman moved on, and Adrian appeared at Sophia's elbow. You handled that well. I've had practice explaining complicated relationships. Speaking of which. Adrian looked nervous, which was unusual for him. Can we talk? Privately. They stepped into the gallery's back office. Adrian was fidgeting, another unusual sign. What's wrong? Sophia asked. Nothing. Everything. I mean, he stopped, took a breath, started over. I'm not good at this. Ethan would know how to make this spontaneous and romantic. But I've been thinking about this for months, and I've calculated every variable, and there's no scenario in which I don't ask you this. He pulled out a small box. Sophia's heart stopped. I know it's only been a year, Adrian continued quickly. I know we started under complicated circumstances. But Sophia, you're the first person I've ever met who makes me want to stop planning and just be. You make me laugh, you challenge my assumptions, you see possibilities in my structures and I see structures in your dreams. I don't want to calculate the optimal time to ask this. I just want to ask, will you marry me? The ring was perfect, a sapphire surrounded by tiny diamonds, unconventional and beautiful. Adrian. If it's too soon, I understand. If you need time. Yes. He blinked. Yes, you need time. Yes, I'll marry you. His face transformed, the careful control dropping away, replaced by pure joy. He slipped the ring on her finger, and they kissed in that tiny office while the gallery opening happened without them. I have to ask, Sophia said when they finally broke apart. Did you talk to Ethan about this? I did. Last week. I wanted his blessing. And? He said, and I quote, it's about damn time. I thought you'd spend another 6 months analyzing whether it was the optimal decision. Sophia laughed. That sounds like Ethan. He also said to tell you that he's happy for us. Really, genuinely happy. And that he's bringing a date to the wedding, so we need to save 2 seats. He's seeing someone. Apparently. A curator he met at one of his gallery showings. He says she's brilliant and entirely uninterested in his spontaneity, which somehow makes him more interested in her. That's perfect. They returned to the gallery to find Ethan watching for them, a knowing smile on his face. He raised his champagne glass in a silent toast. Sophia raised hers back, and in that moment, the last piece of guilt dissolved. They'd all survived. They'd all chosen honestly. And they'd all found their way forward. 6 months later, Sophia stood in a preparation room at the Brooklyn Botanical Gardens, her mother fussing with her veil. You're sure about this? Her mother asked for the 100th time. I'm sure. It's just, the situation with the brother. Mom. Ethan and I are friends. Good friends. He's happy for us. If you say so. Her mother didn't sound convinced, but she let it drop. Margaret Blake knocked and entered. May I have a moment with the bride? Sophia's mother graciously exited. Margaret took Sophia's hands. You look beautiful. Thank you. For everything. For not hating me when this got complicated. Hate you. Sophia, you did something remarkable. You chose honestly when it would have been easier to run away or to choose based on guilt. You respected both my sons enough to be truthful. That's all a mother could ask. I was terrified I'd destroy your family. Families aren't destroyed by truth. They're destroyed by secrets. You told the truth, even when it was hard. Even when it made you look bad. That took courage. A knock interrupted them. Ethan, looking handsome in his suit. Mom, can I have a minute with Sophia? Margaret smiled and left them alone. You're not supposed to see the bride before the wedding, Sophia teased. I'm not the groom. Different rules. Ethan's smile was genuine. I wanted to give you this. He handed her a photograph, Sophia in the coffee shop, sketching, from that very first day. Ethan. I've been carrying this for 2 years. But I realized, it was never about capturing you for myself. It was about capturing that moment when I saw someone fully absorbed in their passion. You should have it. To remember who you were when you started all this. Sophia felt tears threatening her carefully applied makeup. Thank you. Also, I wanted to say, I'm glad it's Adrian. I mean that. He's my twin, my brother, my best friend. And you make him better. You make him laugh, you make him take risks, you make him feel things he usually thinks his way around. That's a gift. He makes me better too. He makes me think deeper, build stronger, look beneath surfaces. That's how it's supposed to work. Ethan hugged her carefully, mindful of her dress. Be happy, Sophia. You've earned it. After he left, Sophia looked at the photograph, the moment that had started everything. She'd been so absorbed in her work, unaware that her life was about to change. Unaware that she'd meet 2 brothers and have to choose between them. Unaware that the choice would teach her who she really was. The ceremony was small, just family and close friends in a garden pavilion Adrian had helped design years earlier. Full circle. Sophia thought. As she walked down the aisle, she saw Adrian waiting, nervous despite all his planning, moved despite all his logic. Ethan stood beside him as best man, genuinely smiling. Dearly beloved, the officiant began. But Sophia barely heard the words. She was thinking about paradoxes, about how 2 truths can exist simultaneously. About how you can care about 2 people differently but equally. About how the same moment can be both an ending and a beginning. The twin paradox in physics says that if one twin travels at near light speed, they'll age slower than the twin who stays still. When they reunite, they'll be different ages, the same but not the same. This was different, but somehow similar. She and Ethan had traveled through time together briefly, then diverged. She and Adrian had found each other later, built something slower and deeper. All 3 of them had aged differently through the experience, changed in different ways. But they'd all arrived here, at a wedding that celebrated not just a marriage, but the complicated, honest path that had led to it. I do, Adrian said, his voice steady despite the emotion in his eyes. I do, Sophia echoed. And in the audience, Ethan watched his brother kiss the woman he'd once loved, and felt only happiness. Because some stories don't end with one person winning and another losing. Some stories end with everyone finding their right place. The twins sat in Washington Square Park, the same bench where Adrian had first talked to Sophia. It had become a tradition. Once a month, the brothers met here to talk without partners, without parents, just them. Luna's walking now, Adrian said, showing a video on his phone, a toddler with Sophia's curls and Adrian's thoughtful expression taking careful steps. She looks like both of you somehow, Ethan observed. Sophia says she has my stubbornness and her creativity. I'm in trouble. You love it. I do. Adrian pocketed his phone. How's the book coming? Ethan's photography collection was nearly finished, a chronicle of his travels and the discovery that home wasn't a place but a choice. Almost done. The publisher wants it by fall. And Melissa? Ethan smiled. Melissa was the curator who'd finally slowed him down, made him want to stay in one place. Good. Really good. We're talking about moving in together. That's big for you. I know. But I'm ready. I spent years running from commitment because I thought staying still meant giving up possibility. But Melissa showed me that commitment is its own adventure. Sounds like you're quoting Sophia's illustrations. Maybe. You two have taught me a lot about building things that last. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the park move around them, the chess players, the musicians, the endless flow of New York. Do you ever think about it? Adrian asked finally. About what would have happened if things went differently? Sometimes. But then I realize, I don't think I would have been ready for what you and Sophia have. I needed to learn to be still first. To stop running. And I needed to learn to take risks. Sophia taught me that. So maybe it all worked out the way it needed to. Maybe. Ethan pulled out an envelope. I wanted to show you something before anyone else sees it. Inside were photographs from Ethan's new collection, but these were different. Not landscapes or strangers, but people he loved. Melissa laughing at a gallery. Their parents dancing in their living room. Adrian and Sophia on their wedding day. And one photograph of all of them together, Ethan, Adrian, Sophia, Melissa, taken at Luna's first birthday party. 4 people who'd found each other through complicated paths, now woven together into something like family. Ethan, these are beautiful. I'm calling the collection Finding Home. It's about learning that home isn't where you are, it's who you choose to be with. Sophia will cry when she sees these. Good tears. The best kind. Adrian's phone buzzed, Sophia sending a picture of Luna covered in paint, grinning. She found the art supplies, the caption read. Both brothers laughed. We should get back, Adrian said. Sophia threatened to let Luna paint the walls if I didn't help with cleanup. They walked together through the park, 2 identical men with different lives that had intersected and diverged and finally settled into comfortable parallel tracks. Adrian? Ethan said as they prepared to part ways. Yeah. Thank you. For what? For being honest. For not pretending you didn't feel what you felt. It would have been easier to lie, to step aside without me knowing. But you told the truth, and that forced all of us to be honest too. I hated it at the time, but it made everything better in the long run. I should thank you. You could have held a grudge. You could have made this impossible. But you chose to let us find our own way. We're brothers. Twins. We're supposed to help each other find happiness, even when it's complicated. They hugged, a real hug, the kind that said everything that didn't need words. Then they separated, Ethan toward his apartment and Melissa, Adrian toward his home and Sophia and Luna. Different directions, different lives, but connected always by blood and by the choice they'd made to be honest even when honesty hurt. Sophia's second major exhibition opened on a rainy Tuesday, fitting, since rain had been there the day she met Ethan. The theme, the architecture of choice. Each illustration explored a moment of decision, showing the hidden structures beneath our choices. A woman standing between 2 doors. A traveler at a crossroads. 2 trees growing from the same root. But the centerpiece was different, a large-scale illustration of 3 people, 2 identical figures and a third standing between them. But in the illustration, the woman wasn't choosing between the figures. Instead, all three were building a bridge together, each contributing their unique strengths. The title, The Twin Paradox, resolved. Adrian stood before it, holding Luna's hand. At 5, she was already showing artistic talent. Her kindergarten teacher said she saw the world differently than other children. "Mama drew that," Luna said. "That's you and Uncle Ethan and Mama." "That's right. Why are there two of you?" Adrian knelt down. "Because Uncle Ethan and I are twins. We look the same but we're different people. Like how me and my friend Sarah both like painting but I like buildings and she likes flowers. Exactly like that." Ethan joined them, Melissa beside him. She was pregnant with their first child, due in 4 months. "It's remarkable," Melissa said, studying the illustration. "The way she's shown that the choice wasn't between you, it was about building something together despite the complexity." "That's Sophia," Adrian said proudly. "She sees possibilities where others see problems." Sophia appeared, flushed from talking to reporters. "I see my favorite people are examining my work." "It's your best piece," Ethan said. "The way you've illustrated the paradox, that we can all exist in the same space, that choosing one path doesn't negate the others." "I learned that from you too," Sophia said. "From watching you refuse to let this situation destroy your relationship. You taught me that love, all kinds of love, isn't a limited resource." Margaret and David arrived, Margaret immediately emotional. "My boys," she said, hugging both twins. "And my daughter," she added, pulling Sophia in. "I'm so proud of all of you." "For what?" Adrian asked. "For choosing the hard way. For being honest when it would have been easier to lie. For building something beautiful out of something complicated." The gallery filled with people, but the family stayed together, a small island of connection in the crowd. Luna tugged on Sophia's hand. "Mama, will you tell me the story?" "Which story, baby?" "The story about how you met Daddy and Uncle Ethan." The adults exchanged glances. "She's been asking," Adrian admitted. Sophia knelt down to Luna's level. "Once upon a time, there was a girl who met two princes who looked exactly alike. And she had to choose which one to dance with at the ball." "How did she choose?" "Well, one prince showed her how to dance in the moonlight. And the other prince asked her what kind of music made her want to dance. And she realized that both were important, but one matched the rhythm of her heart." "Which one?" Sophia looked at Adrian, who was trying not to cry. "The one who wanted to understand her music, not just dance to it." "That's Daddy." "That's right. But Uncle Ethan is still nice." "Uncle Ethan is wonderful. He taught Mama to be brave enough to dance at all." Luna seemed satisfied with this. She ran off to examine other illustrations, leaving the adults alone. "That was beautifully done," Ethan said. "She'll want the full story eventually," Sophia warned. "Then we'll tell her the full story. About how messy and complicated and beautiful it all was." They stood together, Ethan and Melissa, Adrian and Sophia, Margaret and David, with Luna running between them, a family built not despite complications but because of them. Built on honesty and hard choices and the courage to feel things even when feelings were inconvenient. Outside, rain fell on New York City, the same rain that had stopped the day Sophia met Ethan, the same rain that had started this whole impossible story. But inside, in the gallery, surrounded by illustrations of hidden structures and impossible choices, there was only light. Because some paradoxes can't be resolved through logic. Some can only be resolved through love, the messy, complicated, honest kind that requires you to see people as they are, not as you wish they were. The twin paradox says that twins who take different paths through spacetime will age differently. Will exist in different temporal states, will be the same but not the same. This was different. But also, somehow, exactly the same. Two brothers who looked identical but chose different paths. A woman who had to choose between them, and in choosing, helped them all become more fully themselves. And in the end, no one lost. In the end, everyone found exactly what they needed. Thank you all for watching my story and supporting me. I truly appreciate every view, like, and kind word. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to like, share, and leave a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your support means everything and motivates me to keep creating more for you.